it said were the remains of one of those hostages who were later found to belong to Ofer Tzarfati, part of whose body was recovered by the IDF last November. Now, under the Gaza ceasefire agreement, Hamas was supposed to return all of the hostages, living and dead, within 72 hours of the start of the ceasefire deal. Despite several violations of the Gaza ceasefire in recent days, Prime Minister Netanyahu is reportedly backing away from plans to expand the IDF's yellow line of control inside Gaza, a move which had been approved by the security establishment following the killing of an IDF reservist this week in Rafah. Reports in Israeli media say the about-face followed a Trump veto of the move. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Visiting U.S.-Israeli ceasefire headquarters in Kiryat Gat, Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed a joint effort to ensure Hamas disarmament.
קודם כל אני שמח לארח פה בקריית גת את ידידינו האמריקנים, הם עובדים יחד איתנו על תוכנית להשיג עזה אחרת, עזה שלא תהווה איום על ישראל יותר.
Netanyahu made the remarks during a tour of the Civil Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, accompanied by IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant Colonel Eyal Zamir, Shin Bet Director David Zini, and senior IDF officers. Speaking alongside CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper, Netanyahu said Israel is working in stages to disarm Hamas and demilitarize the Gaza Strip, declaring, "We will achieve what we are determined to achieve."
באותה מידה אנחנו רוצים להביא לכך שבסוף היעד שהנשיא טראמפ ואנחנו סיכמנו עליו בהסכמה של אחרים, של פירוק החמאס מנשקו ופירוז עזה יושג, ועל זה אנחנו עובדים בשלבים יחד עם מרכיבים אחרים של התוכנית.
The Prime Minister said Israel's security responsibility for our forces and our freedom of action in Gaza is accepted by the country's partners, including the United States. Netanyahu reiterated that Israel and the U.S. are coordinating to achieve the goal agreed upon with President Trump, the disarmament of Hamas and the demilitarization of Gaza. Trump had said that Hamas indicated willingness to disarm, but the terror group has publicly denied any such intention.
אני מאמין שבשיתוף פעולה עשינו כבר דברים שהדהימו את העולם, גם באיראן, גם בשחרור חטופינו החיים שאף אחד לא האמין שנצליח. אז יש פה מאמץ אמיתי בשיתוף פעולה עם שמירה של הביטחון בידינו להשיג תוצאות שאולי אף אחד לא מאמין שנשיג, ואנחנו רוצים לנסות.
The Hebrew media is reporting that U.S. President Trump vetoed an Israeli proposal to shift the yellow line in the Gaza Strip and expand IDF control in response to a serious ceasefire violation by Hamas. In the aftermath of the incident that resulted in the death of Master Sergeant Yon Ephraim Feldbaum, the IDF had planned for the IDF to assume control of the targeted area. This was contingent upon American approval. However, according to the reports, Trump ultimately blocked the initiative. Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer is expected to fly to Washington next week to meet with senior U.S. administration officials to discuss advancing the initiative to disarm Hamas.
And the Prime Minister of Qatar, a principal mediator and sponsor of the ceasefire agreement, called the exchange of fire in Gaza this week frustrating and disappointing, but insisted the truce should be maintained. Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, speaking at the Council of Foreign Relations in New York City, said the shootings at IDF soldiers was the initial violation of the ceasefire, but he also criticized Israel's response.
What happened yesterday was a violation, and then what we were expecting that this violation also will be there will be a response for it, but. Fortunately, I think like the main parties are, both of them are acknowledging that the ceasefire should hold and they should stick to the agreement.
You're using the word violation. Can you tell us who do you believe violated the ceasefire?
Well, look, if we will start to describe the violations, it will be an open-ended questions. But what happened yesterday? The attack on the Israeli soldiers, that's basically a violation by the Palestinian Party. Now, Hamas has put a statement that they are not in communication with this group. We don't know yet. We didn't have any verification if this is true or not. We remain focused on making sure that the ceasefire itself holds.
Al-Thani added that he believes Hamas will cooperate in both decommissioning its weapons and allowing other parties to take over the governance of Gaza, but insisted this must be accompanied by the initiation of a political horizon for the Palestinians. Now, police were expecting some 500,000 people today at the entrance to Jerusalem to take part in the million-man protest march against the conscription of ultra-Orthodox young men into the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, the rally was scheduled to start at 2:30 p.m. at the Capitol's entrance, and Highway number 1 from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem will be closed in both directions. Police urged the public to avoid the area and warned that any attempt to block roads, light fires, or damage property would be dealt with firmly. Participants from all of the ultra-Orthodox and Haredi religious streams, Lithuanian, Hasidic, and Sephardic, are attending along with their spiritual leaders. The event is focusing on prayers and psalms with no political speeches. Counter demonstrations by IDF reservists, wounded soldiers, and bereaved families are to take place near the Cords Bridge at Jerusalem's entrance. The protest follows the arrest of Ariel Shammai, a student from the Ateret Shlomo Yeshiva, who was sentenced to 20 days in jail for refusing to report to the IDF draft office. Subsequent arrests of other Haredi draft dodgers have sparked widespread protest. The Supreme Court ruled last year that, following the expiration of the exemption law, the military must begin drafting Haredi men. Since then, the IDF has begun criminal proceedings against those who fail to report. The issue has fractured Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition, with the Shas and United Torah Judaism parties exiting the government in July. The government is now trying to prepare a compromise proposal on the Haredi draft issue that will be acceptable to the ultra-Orthodox parties, but so far has not been successful. And joining us now for more on this is Yanky Farber. He is a journalist from and who covers the Haredi community. Yanky, thank you for joining us. First of all, let me just start by asking you, what does the Haredi community hope to accomplish today with this massive protest?
Well, it's more like, inside. It's not for the outside. They want to show to the young generation, to the boys that need to show up to the IDF, that the community, the rabbis, and the families are behind them. And if they will get arrested, the community will take care of it and will try to release them as quick as possible and support them and show them that they're not alone in the situation. That's basically the story. And that's why they're not calling it a demonstration. They're not calling it a protest. They're calling it like a praying gathering, and they're just standing there like, I don't know how many people, but quite a lot. We'll wait for the police to announce how many people. Quite a lot. And they're just, praying. They're saying prayers, and they say, we hope that the government, that the Supreme Court will stop, following the boys and let us learn Torah all day. Nothing really major is going to come out. There won't be like a big announcement like we're leaving the government, we're going on election, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Just like more religious, getting all the boys, they should know that the rabbis are behind them. And it's very important for them because, many boys have said so many times, well, the community doesn't care, people are arrested, and nobody's really doing much. So now they decided to get all together and to show them solidarity. And there won't be any major announcement.
Well, I would say if you're praying in the middle of the street blocking traffic, that probably qualifies as some kind of protest. But let me ask you, Yanky, you say it's for the inside. Is there no thought in the Haredi leadership about how this appears to the outside, those Israelis whose sons and daughters have been serving in the army in Gaza, who have lost children in Gaza, or have had them wounded, or have experienced this, how this looks now, this event against serving in the IDF?
Well, the rabbis and the leaders and even the politicians, the Knesset members, they know that the secular community or the Orthodox community who do serve in the IDF, the people who vote for Smotrich and Ben Gvir, they do serve in the IDF. And they understand that the rest of Israel is against to them, and they know exactly, but they have no choice. The reason, actually, they wanted to do this, this gathering like a month ago, but they pushed it as late as possible because they know it's like putting the fingers in the eyes of the soldiers, and they understand that probably next government, they will not be in the government. They will pay a big price for what they did in the last 2 years, not joining the IDF. And So they understand the price they're going to pay, but they must do it, and I will explain you why. Because if they will allow the boys to join the IDF, not the one who are learning in yeshiva, even the ones that, hang around on the streets and fly all over the world and even work or go to university, it means that the rabbis are actually giving permission to join the IDF. They are worried that a lot of boys will leave the yeshiva because it's everybody can join the IDF. The rabbi support, the community support. They were very, very afraid that the community will actually break to pieces. That's why they must stand strong from their side and not letting anybody joining the IDF, because if they will allow the boys who are not learning in yeshiva to join the IDF, they will not be able in 2 or 3 weeks' time announce nobody's allowed to go to the IDF because they voted for such a thing. That's why I said in the last 2 years that the Haredim will never ever vote for a law, even the law that we were talking about it in the last 2 years, and now we saw Boaz Bismuth was trying to, to push the law forward. Nobody's going to vote for it. Nobody wants it. It's not good, not for the country, not for the Haredim, not for the rabbis, not for the soldiers. It's a very bad law, and the way it looks like, Israel is going on election in the next few months.
All right. Well, as you said, I think for the rest of the non-Haredi community looking on at this protest today, just weeks after the end of the fighting, well, they're still fighting in Gaza. That is going to be a little difficult for them to accept. Yankee Farber, thank you for joining us on ILTV.
See you. Bye-bye.
On October 7, I was here at the Nova Music Festival. I ran for my life, hid for 7 hours. Terrorists shot me twice. Thankfully, I survived. I'm still dealing with trauma, and I'm not alone. 3 million Israelis are in trauma. They need mental health care or physical rehabilitation. Wounded soldiers, families, and scared children.
Since 1912, Hadassah has been a life-changing force in Israel. Today, Hadassah has 2 world-renowned hospitals, pioneers breakthrough medical research, cares for youth, and has built the much-needed and largest rehabilitation facility in Jerusalem.
Thank you to everyone at Hadassah Hospitals. You've been helping me, and so many others. And a special thanks to one nurse, my mom. I love you.
And the World Zionist Congress returned to Jerusalem with 1,400 Jews from more than 40 countries, equal parts family reunion and political brawl, testing what Zionism means in 2025 and who gets to define it. Now, one appointment in particular sparked debate. ILTV's executive editor, Mayan Hoffman, filed this report from the Congress.
Inside the ICC Jerusalem, the Parliament of the Jewish People convened for the first full in-person Congress in a decade. 700 delegates and 200 alternates, spanning 42 countries. The U.S. arrived with 155 elected delegates and roughly 100 alternates, the largest American showing ever after a record turnout in this year's AZM elections.
So the resolutions that come out of the Zionist Congress reflect the viewpoint of global Jewry. Statements and resolutions either set policy or make declaratory statements of the priorities of world Jewry on issues affecting both things that are happening in Israel and priorities for support for Jewish communities around the world.
But the biggest headline here was political. A center-left, center-right power-sharing deal meant to split leadership of the WZO and KKL-JNF collapsed hours after it was struck, following a plan to appoint Yair Netanyahu to a senior WZO post. The plenary then voted to extend the Congress by 2 weeks to salvage a coalition. Tempers flared behind closed doors. Ministers traded accusations over who was cutting deals with whom. It was messy and very Jewish.
Zionism is in our soul and in our heart. So no matter what happens on the streets of New York or around the world, those of us who are really compassionate about it, we can't let that stop us.
Beyond the drama, committees advanced a raft of resolutions, combating anti-Semitism, strengthening Jewish education, and proposals from women's groups to expand mentorship and leadership pipelines.
Some really do have bearing on what the World Zionist Congress and the World Zionist Organization can do moving forward.
Women have to play a pivotal role in it, so we need to make it through resolutions, through positions, through keys of influence. It's not enough to say it's not quantity, it's also quality of what we do here.
And yet, for first-timers, the site of a global Jewish town hall was the story.
It's very cool and special to see so many different types of Jews coming together in Jerusalem, the undivided and eternal capital of the Jews, and discussing so many important issues that obviously have a big effect on our future.
Inside the committees, arguments were sharp over borders, peoplehood, identity, and priorities after 2 years of war. For some, the danger is external. For others, it's internal division. For all, the work is to turn debate into budgets and programs that touch real lives in Jerusalem to the diaspora.
It's a little bit hard to be with so many people with so many different ideas because the discourse is healthy, but the disagreement, it puts people in very different places.
And what I see here is a proud people that come and raise their heads and say, guys, we are Jews, we're Zionists, and we will make this state stronger. I think this is our hope.
Zionism in 2025 is not one thing. Here, it's sovereignty and security, social infrastructure, and equal opportunity, argued loudly, voted on democratically, and funded at scale, over $1 billion a year across Israel and Jewish communities worldwide. Even with the coalition chaos, the work continues. Set priorities, pass budgets, and remind a fractious world that Jewish peoplehood still gathers, debates, and builds in Jerusalem. In a week of sharp elbows and shared purpose, the World Zionist Congress showed that the family fight is real, but so is the family.
At Emunah's Neve Michael Children's Village, one center is offering safety, healing, and hope to some of Israel's most vulnerable girls. Here's the story of how the Teen Girls Crisis Center is changing lives one girl at a time.
For girls who have endured unimaginable trauma, abuse, neglect, and fear, the road to recovery begins here at Neve Michael's Teen Girls Crisis Center. It's the only facility of its kind in Israel, a safe haven for girls aged 12 to 15 who have been removed from their homes by Israel's welfare services. Led by director Nadia Bobrovsky, the center provides emotional and psychological treatment, psychiatric care, and constant support, all designed to help the girls rebuild trust and find strength.
The first thing we try to give them is the feeling that they are wanted, that we waited for them.
When a new girl arrives, she's greeted not with judgment, but with love, a personalized sign, a small gift, and the reassurance that she is seen and accepted.
We don't judge them, and we accept them. And this is the first feeling we want them to get when they come to our center.
Each girl's story is different, but their needs are the same: safety, stability, and someone who believes in them. Many arrive in crisis, scared, withdrawn, and mistrusting of adults. But over time, something changes.
The biggest change that we see in those girls is the ability to trust people, to form a healthy connections that based on respect.
Behind every breakthrough is a dedicated team of therapists, social workers, and caregivers. And behind them stands Emunah, the organization that makes this work possible. For 90 years, Emunah has been at the heart of Israel's social welfare system, helping vulnerable children and families break cycles of abuse and distress. Through education, therapy, and love, Emunah builds lives of purpose and possibility. The Teen Girls Crisis Center at Neve Michael embodies that vision, ensuring that no girl is left to face her trauma alone.
They will get more tools and will be able to use those tools in the future whenever they get to another crisis or will have a hard time.
At Neve Michael, every girl is given the chance to heal, to hope, and to dream again.
And here's a story with a happy ending. A group of trekkers were stuck in a village in Nepal after a snowstorm halted their hiking journey and forced them to stop. Among the group were 100 Israelis who have now been rescued and transferred to a lower altitude with safer conditions. ILTV's Devo Klein has a story.
Israelis are notorious travelers, and with the peak season wrapping up, Israeli trekkers in Nepal were probably not expecting this storm to catch them. Of the group of 100, many Israelis were stuck in a village in Nepal after stormy conditions obstructed their hiking trail in Mount Everest. Reports confirm that one hiker was evacuated via helicopter due to a serious medical condition to a nearby village, likely caused by the conditions. One helicopter attempting to evacuate hikers ended up crashing before the rescue mission could take shape. No one was injured in the crash. The Israelis were rescued and taken from Samdu to the nearby village of Samagwan, which is at a lower altitude, as Walla news site reported. Due to dangerous conditions, both the Nepalese and Chinese sides of Mount Everest have been closed for trekkers.
And now it's time for our Hebrew word of the week. Each week, along with eTeacher, we learn a new Hebrew word and relate it to the Bible, current affairs, and our everyday lives. For more info on the Rosen School of Hebrew, please scan the QR code on your screen. But in the meantime, let's hear this week's word of the week.
Welcome to Hebrew Word of the Week. I'm Ariella, and in this segment, together with eTeacher, we explore the beauty and depth of the Hebrew language. We'll learn a new Hebrew word or phrase and see how it's used in the Bible, current events, and everyday life. Today's Hebrew word is emunah, which means faith. In Hebrew, emunah represents a deeply rooted belief and trust in something greater than oneself. Emunah is a word that embodies the concept of faith in Hebrew culture. It goes beyond mere belief. It signifies unwavering trust and conviction. In Hebrew culture, emunah is a fundamental aspect of religious and spiritual life. It's the cornerstone of belief in God and the guiding force behind many actions and rituals. People with strong emunah often find comfort, strength, and purpose in their faith. Here are some examples of how the word emunah is used in a sentence. Ha'emunah be'Elohim hi chelek chashuv b'chayai. Faith in God is an important part of my life. Ani mitnachem be'emunati be'et kshayim. I find comfort in my faith during difficult times. So if you're interested in learning more about the Hebrew language, check out eTeacher. This online and live course is the most established Hebrew language instruction institution. You can learn with a time-proven method for every level or start from scratch. eTeacher offers dynamic online courses with live video lessons, weekly webinars, and ample support, and allows you to connect to a lively global community for an enriched learning experience. Click the link below and visit the eTeacher website today to learn more.
Let's take a look. Hamas has handed over what it says are the bodies of 2 of the 13 Israeli hostages